Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 5th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 20 in the house. And, woo, boy, there's a lot to get to today. There's a lot that happened, a lot of plans being made, being changed, being made again, being changed again. There's a lot of shifting in terms of house. You can't really call it structure, but maybe placement. And we got to get into all of it. And with me to talk about all of it is Chantel. How you doing, Chantel?
I'm doing really well. It's my first live feed update of the season, and they got me with the doozy here. I was like, "Are the feeds going to go down today?" Like, there's just so much going on, and like it's kind of going back and forth, and long conversations that going around in circles. But I'm happy to get this. Like, you really get in the season when you start doing some updates, and so I'm happy to be here to like really get in it.
Yes, they really were like, yeah, remember when we were gonna make this a boring week? Well, Taran is sick.
Absolutely. They had no
Mm,
consideration for your health, Taryn.
no consideration. Let's get straight into this. There's genuinely a lot that happened. Yesterday we talked about how Quinn was starting to get caught because of all of the line of information where where Angela told Tucker about his power, then Chemo confirmed it, then Tucker told Joseph, then Tucker told Cam, then Cam told Cedric, and how they were kind of annoyed about it. They gave Quinn kind of one last chance to come clean. He continued to deny it. So, with that in mind, Cedric as the HOH, Angela, Kenny, Tucker on the block. Tucker won the veto. Tucker did mention that he was like, "Hey, what if we put Quinn on the block? That's a cool idea." But it was kind of like, will that actually happen? We'll get to it. Um, as of right now, though, the plan had landed as of the previous update on Cedric nominating MJ to flush her power, and then America would choose the replacement nominee, and one of Angela or Kenny would be the person to be evicted. Ideally, Angela from Quinn's point of view, ideally, Kenny from some others' points of view. That's where we had left off, Chantal.
Yes, and I mean, it's a very likely plan. They want to flush this power out. They also would get a lot of information just to see how people are being perceived, who is involved in the season, who's the audience is liking or not liking. They just would get some information if MJ's power worked the way that she has claimed it has. So it made sense. I understood why that this would be a potential for Cedric to put up, and he doesn't seem to want to get any blood on his hands whatsoever. And so it was easy to get everybody to jump on board to MJ, because I'm surprised, because I think that people should be scared that, like, oh, maybe I'm not going to be well perceived by the audience and I might get thrown up there. But they seem to be wanting to go along with this plan, and they're happy with not having Cedric get any blood on his hands.
Yes. So here's the deal. I'm gonna try to make this as efficient as possible because there's a lot of information to sift through, and I'm sick. So let's tell the story here. I mean, first of all, there's still a lot of discussion being had about Kenny versus Angela. And a lot of the women are talking about wanting Kenny gone because Kenny continues to bring up the fact that he thinks that there's a women's alliance, thinks that it's being run by Brooklyn. And it's very clear to them that Kenny really has no interest in working with women in any capacity. And on top of that, he's good at competitions. He came in second place in the first HOH. He won a veto last week. And according to him, at least, I think he came in second in this latest veto competition. And so it's concerning. Like, this guy, he's like, does he want to be here? Does he not want to be here? If he doesn't want to be here, what is he doing here? And if he does want to be here, why does he only want to work with men? And so with all of that in mind, a lot of the women, Brooklyn, of course, included, are kind of feeling like, well, why don't we just vote him out?
I mean, I would like that. Obviously we're frustrated with him wanting to go and wanting to stay and wanting to go, but it seems that it falls on when the women have the power. He seems to want to go a lot more, and then as soon as the men get the power, he's willing to stay, which we'll get into probably a little bit later. How much he's willing to kind of stay in the game, and so. If I were in the house, I'd probably want to go for Kenny because he doesn't want to be here and he's saying my name. So I get it.
Yes. In the meantime, though, Kenny wants to invite Quinn into the Shake 'em Up Alliance, the Shaker Boys, whatever they're calling themselves nowadays. And he genuinely like makes an approach to Quinn that's like, hey, I think we could work together. I think this is something that could be good. And what's funny about this is that like while this is happening, Tucker is formalizing the idea in his mind that he wants to pitch for Quinn to go.
Um, I mean, what's really fun, or for me anyways, watching is that Quinn actually has no idea how much damage control he should really be doing. And like he's kind of is operating like it's like he has the protection of this power, but realizing that he doesn't really have the protection of the power, and they're wanting to come in and flush it out. And so it was just very ironic just watching him kind of being pulled into things that people are with the people that are actually going to come and try to target him. Because Tucker, I think he still has Quinn on his radar. I know things kind of shifted and ideas shifted, but I think it really bothers him that he hasn't been honest about this power, and so I don't think he'll let that go until he prevails.
Yes. So Kenny goes to Tucker and he says, "Hey, like I talked to Quinn. I feel like we can pull him in." And Tucker's like, "Oh, hmm, about that, I've got an idea." And his idea is that he wants Quinn to go on the block, as we've sort of like been talking about, and he's going to make this pitch, and this is where things get interesting in the day, because again, up until this point, the Tucker pitch has been MJ, and we've talked a lot about this. That like this house has just been whoever suggests a thing at all, like that thing will just happen because nobody's willing to suggest things except for Tucker, or maybe Joseph, and everyone else is just like, well, well, I guess we have to do it because that's what people are saying that they want, and nobody else is saying that they want anything else. And so Tucker makes this pitch to Cedric, and he says, "What if I don't take myself off the block, and instead I use the veto on Angela?" And Angela comes off the block, and you replace Angela with Quinn. And then we beat Quinn in the AI arena competition. Ideally, I throw it to Kenny, and then I sit up on the block against Quinn. And when in those 2 minutes that you have time to campaign, I tell everyone about his power. We flip the votes against him, and we send Quinn out the door.
How are you feeling when were you pulling your hair out with this idea, this plan? I mean, I would want it to happen just to see it fail. Like I just am like it's I think with Tucker, he really needs to be like doing something. I think this game is a bit too slow for him. He might be more satisfied playing like a survivor or the challenge where like you have these active challenges and it's always kind of forward moving instead of just kind of sitting. He feels like people are not actually playing the game if they're not doing something. So I kind of understand why he keeps on wanting to put himself on the block and play in all these competitions, is because he needs to be invigorated. But I would think if someone's going to put themselves in that position, like at this time, it would be the second time that he's doing it. He wants the fanfare of like getting Quinn sent out the door, like in this kind of uh, you know spectacular way. So I would want it to happen, but instead of Quinn going home, they're just being like, Tucker, you're too messy. You got to go. Ideal.
It's a wild idea. It really doesn't make any sense for Tucker, or or really, it certainly doesn't make sense for Cedric. But the idea is that, like, hey, like, let's get this guy out, and I'm willing to, like, lay my life on the line to send him out the door because he's too good. He's got this power. He's been lying to everyone. He only told Chemo. He's in alliances with everyone in the house. He's a problem. He needs to go. If we want to win this game, Quinn needs to go. And he's not necessarily wrong. Quinn is a great target, and making this pitch makes some amount of sense. It just doesn't make sense in the way where he's doing it with himself not being taken off the block. Because let's just take this quickly at face value, right? Let's say Cedric goes along with this. It happens the way that Tucker wants it to. Like, almost definitely Tucker gets voted out there. Like,
Right? Which would be amazing for us.
like, he plans to, like, he wants to throw the AI comp to Kenny, which on its face just gives Quinn too much of a chance to pull out a win. And he says, like, "Oh, well, I'll hopefully, like last time, I'd be able to see who was doing well, and so I'd know who to throw it to." So, like, okay, let's say even if he does manage to successfully throw it to Kenny, he plans to wait until that 2 minutes to do his campaign and reveal and out Quinn and all of that stuff. And what does he think is gonna happen in the days leading up to that when he uses the veto on Angela and Quinn goes on the block, and they're supposed to just, like, sit on their hands and be like, "Yeah, I guess Quinn's up on the block now," and then wait until the final second to try to campaign? It's a terrible idea, and Cedric immediately basically is able to recognize that it's a terrible idea and says, "Well, no, we would need to start campaigning as soon as Quinn touches the block." And Tucker's like, "Oh yeah, okay, fine. I guess that makes sense."
Well, 100%. And if the most majority of the house would prefer, Angela or Kenny to be the ones going home, and now you're saving these people, like, I just do it out of spite. Be like, I didn't want you up there. You want yourself up there. So we're gonna take you out since you didn't allow us to get the person that we actually wanted out of the house out. So I know that Tucker has these dreams of this like fantastic plan, but I agree with Cedric. If you're going to do that, you are going to have to gain the votes like leading up, because who knows what actually is going to happen at the AI arena. It might be something that you're not going to be extremely good at. Like, look at the first one. The first one, they were counting people's like images on different screens, and the next one was a puzzle with the physical element. So he can't predict what it's going to be, and so I kind of wanted to
Yeah.
do it just to be proven wrong.
So Cam ends up joining this conversation, and it's 4 people up there. It's Cedric, Cam, Tucker, and Kenny. And they start talking about working together. They call themselves the Ball Boys, or that's what, like, they, I don't know. They're the Ball Boys.
Is it because they're going to play ball? Like, what's
Listen, it's just who they are. It's big Kenny energy. So they're talking about this, and Cedric is pretty reluctant about this plan to begin with. The ball players, sorry, but they're really, again, they're the Ball Boys. And so the Cedric is pretty reluctant because it's a terrible idea for Cedric. Like, okay, let's say even if they do work on campaigning against Quinn ahead of time, it is possible that they could get the votes. Like, Cedric is like, well, you're saying that Quinn has all of these women that are working with him, then wouldn't they want to vote to keep him? And Tucker's like, no, I've got all the women. Don't worry about that. They all love me. They're all coming to me for things. Like, I can get their votes easy. And he's like, okay. So it's like, okay, well, even if we do get the votes, we put Quinn on the block, We out his power. We tell everyone that he's playing everyone. Here's another problem. What if he's already told a bunch of them all of this stuff that we're just finding out now? If they already know, they're not going to care, and they're still going to vote to keep him. Tucker's like, no, 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 doesn't matter. I got those votes. I got them. It's fine. It's like, oh, okay, okay, well, there, fine, okay. We probably have the votes. Do they have the votes? That's questionable. They could probably get them, but it's definitely a lot sketchier than Tucker thinks it is. But then the problem is, okay, you can maybe get those votes by outing his power, by saying he's playing everyone. What they didn't really talk about is that he could pretty easily, potentially, get them back with the effective campaign of, you caught me. I've got this power. And if I stay this week, I can use this power and I'm HOH. So basically, I'm HOH next week if you keep me. And guess who I'm going after? Cedric, Tucker, Kenny. And guess who I'm not going after? Anybody that votes to keep me. And it's a pretty effective campaign. Like, there's a lot of reason to keep Quinn around and guarantee yourself a week of safety. Because why would he turn around and target anybody that kept him when he's just been outright targeted by Tucker, Kenny, and maybe he could even say like it's Tucker, Kenny, Angela. I'll even give Cedric a pass because Cedric still does have some connections. There's a lot of reason that his campaign could actually change the tide. Okay, let's say he's not good at campaigning. Let's say he's unable to win the votes back. You are able to get the votes. This is all going to work well, except he still has a 1 in 3 chance of winning the AI Arena comp. Like, Tucker is convinced that he can win any competition he ever wants to win at this point, and that may or may not be true, depending on the kinds of competitions they give them. But you're still looking at like probably at least a 1 in 3 shot of Quinn winning that AI Arena competition. And if he does, he's the HOH next week. And guess who he's coming after? Cedric, Cam, Kenny, Tucker.
Of course.
So like, there's a lot of reason to not do this. And Cedric recognizes this, even if he doesn't recognize all of the reasons why he shouldn't do it. And so he tries to push back a bit. He tries to be like, I'm just a little worried about the potential ramifications. But again, everyone is so passive, including Cedric, that all it takes is for Tucker to be like, yeah, but like, come on. And Cedric is like, good point.
I have a question. Why have they just not gone up to Quinn and being like, okay, Quinn, we've given you a couple opportunities to come out with it, but we know about your power. We know that you da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he probably would do, like you're saying, be like, oh my God, I've been keeping this in, not knowing what to do about, like, and he could probably get them back and they could probably start working together with the power. And so I'm just curious as to why you think they just won't talk to him about it instead of just making him this enemy.
I think it's because of how it came out. Like, because it was leaked to them, there's a couple of things. One is that they don't want to like out the person that told them.
Okay, facts.
And two, the fact that it came from Chemo to Tucker to Cam to Cedric. So like the fact that it was a chain like that means it's hard to like be the one that goes to Quinn to like talk to him about it without, again, betraying that chain, but also like recognizing that you're nowhere close to the person he wanted to tell. And that's a shaky ground for that alliance to be existing on in the first place. So there is a lot of reason to be hesitant about it. But like, I think you are right. There's also a lot of reason to just go to Quinn because you have to kind of recognize that given that it's hard to take this power out in the first place, you might as well just get on board for now. Especially I think Tucker's the biggest one where like he hears from Quinn, or sorry, he hears from Chemo that then just go to Quinn, talk to Quinn, align with Quinn. But that's sort of expecting rationality from Tucker. So, but I understand it more from Cam and Cedric, who were supposed to have already known from Quinn, and it came from a longer chain to them. So anyway, Cedric is displaying some reluctance, but Tucker is just pushing right through, and Cam is not helping because Cam is just kind of like, yeah, I guess this kind of makes sense. And so they start talking about it more like, okay, well then I guess if we did this, this is how we would do it. We have to keep it a secret until it happens because they think that probably the power will be able to negate it until before he's blindsided. So he has to be blindsided. And then afterward, they can tell everyone, hey, this is why he has a power. He's playing everyone in the house. He's in a million different alliances. If any of us want to win the game, we have to take him out because he's too good at this. And they'll gather the votes. They'll beat him in the AI competition, and they'll vote him out this week. And it's like, oh, okay, like this is all kind of set in place. Like they are working together.
Yeah.
They want to make this happen. The real question is how real is this for Cedric? Is he just kind of going along in this conversation, or is he actually going to do this? So after they leave, Cedric talks to the cameras. And he does the Cedric thing where he's
Are
like,
you gonna reenact it, please? Who wants it? He's actually very entertaining the way he talks to the cameras. I did enjoy his camera talks. It's kind of like a pump up session.
I hate it because he's whispering. If he wasn't whispering, I'd be fine with it. But like the antics make the whispering even harder to hear. But he's like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Like, oh man, now I got Tucker over here and I got Quinn over here, and it's like Quinn, what are you doing? Like, the problem is that Quinn is in the Pentagon, and so like, what? Then he's gonna out the Pentagon. So like, what do we do there? And so basically, the issue is it's beyond just will this shot land? Will Quinn retaliate? It's that if he takes the shot at Quinn, it destroys his entire structure. Now, his entire structure is a bad one to begin with. There's no solid foundation, but he doesn't know that. He thinks that there is a solid foundation, and that by taking the shot at Quinn, he's potentially demolishing this entire foundation, the entire structure, and then restructuring with like the ball boys as the core. With or not the core, but like as one of the cores, and then having to, he basically says like, oh well, if we do this, like I'll have to find a replacement for the Pentagon, and all of this stuff. But I think I have to do this. I think I have to. I think we have to take this shot. I'd rather go down swinging. And if I don't take this shot, I'll have two of the best competitors in the house, Kenny and Tucker, coming after me. And so I think it's gonna have to happen. And so that's it. Like as of that moment, Quinn is getting blindsided by being put on the block in the veto ceremony, which is very funny because up until that point, I was already assuming that Quinn was going to hit the block because of MJ's power. But instead, they have changed their minds and want to put Quinn up directly and take that shot directly. And that is where things stood at that point.
Now, do we still think that America would vote Quinn up if MJ were to use this power? Like if MJ was the one that was on the block, she uses the power, audience gets the vote. Do you think it's still Quinn, or do you think that has shifted now that Quinn is kind of he's kind of in an underdog position a little bit?
Honestly, Chantele, you are going to have to tell me because I still have not been able to watch last night's episode, and I think that's the biggest indicator of like where is the edit on Quinn right now.
Okay, no, I wasn't watching it like intently or intensely, whatever word I want. I mean, I didn't dislike Quinn in the edit, but I'd have to watch it again if I was looking for that information. Yeah.
Chat is saying they're seeing Facebook voting potentially Joseph. That Facebook had Quinn and Joseph as top two candidates. Okay. So yeah, I guess Joseph might be. I don't know. I guess maybe Joseph was in the episode last night in a negative way.
Or not enough.
Not enough. I don't think. I think like being invisible is fine because you don't attract enough hate. but will there will also be the Wednesday episode, and so like let's assume all of this goes down on the Wednesday episode and MJ does use her power. We will see all of this stuff about Quinn's power being exposed, him almost potentially going on the block and then maybe not going on the block. And then like, what's the reason he doesn't go on the block? Is the audience rooting for him to go on the block, to not go on the block? I think it will probably come down to the Wednesday episode at this point.
Fair. That makes sense.
So either way, Cedric is down to do this. And there are a few different ways that this could fall through, right? One way is that he could think about it for 2 more seconds and realize it's a terrible plan. Another way is that he could talk about it with Chelsea or Brooklyn, and they could tell him it's a terrible plan. Very quickly, he has a conversation with Brooklyn, and Cam is there, but he does not tell her about the plan, which was the biggest indication to me that like this might actually go through. Because if he doesn't tell Brooklyn or Chelsea ahead of time, then there's going to be nobody to tell him no other than Cam, and Cam is telling him yes. Now, his conversation with Brooklyn was still, I think, a conversation that made him think about putting the brakes on, because he's talking to her about the Pentagon, about the collective, and she's like, yeah, it's so great for us. We're like so locked in. All we need to do is not do anything stupid. And we're like, we've got 8 people. We have 5 within the 8. In a couple of weeks, the Pentagon controls everything. And it's so easy. And he's like, oh, yeah. But like, what if
she
there was,
knew.
but like, what if there was somebody who wasn't loyal in the Pentagon, and she's like, what if like, do you think Quinn is loyal? And she's like, yeah. What do you mean? Of course, he's super loyal. He's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, all right. So, so he has that conversation. He later has a conversation with Chelsea. And she's like, so like, what are we doing? Is it, it's probably MJ, maybe Leah. I mean, Leah. And he's like, yeah. He's like, what? What's going on? Is everything okay? He's like, yeah, I'm just like, do you think everyone's loyal in the Pentagon? Like, do you think everything's like good with us? And she's like, yeah, except for Cam. Like, yeah, Cam is a problem. We know this. He's talking to Leah way too much. And he's like, right, yeah, that's the person I was talking about. But I just, I'm just thinking, she's like, yeah, just again, shouldn't be rocking the boat here. Like Cam is a problem, but we can deal with him later. Like right now we focus on what we should be doing this week, which is MJ or Leah. And he's like, yeah. I want to talk to you later tonight, maybe, and tell you some things. She's like, okay. And it's like,
He
okay.
needs to have a woman come and like talk some sense into him. He's being really cagey about it. I don't know if they're picking up on the fact that there's somebody else that he's alluding to, or I don't know if she actually thinks it's Cam that he's speaking about. But
Oh, she definitely did. I mean,
okay.
she came into that conversation laser focused on Cam. And because of the other plot line that we will get to shortly, which is that Cam is doing more stuff with Leah in that moment, and she's ranting about it. And so she has no idea he's talking about Quinn at all.
I just kind of wish that it was later in the night in that moment that he was just like honest with Chelsea and just like talk to her, because he's kind of spiraling on his own with only having the influence of like the guys, and they're not really leading him down the right path, especially for him. So yeah, I wish that he was just a little bit more forthright with his thoughts with his alliance
Yes.
members, right? Like they're supposed to be working together pretty tightly, and so I wish that he was a little bit more transparent.
Yes. To me, this read as like like the kid who knows that he did something stupid and doesn't want to have to tell his parents.
Or his older sister.
Right. Like, so, I mean, I was thinking about going to this party, but like, I need your car, but like, I know it's really stupid.
Yeah, it's like, so I was gonna steal it.
Like, I know you're gonna say no because it's dumb, but I was excited about it, but now I'm thinking, like, maybe I don't actually have a good argument for why. Um, so there's been conversations about, specifically from Chelsea, from, like, the women again, that, like, they are concerned that Cedric is just, like, being controlled by the guys, Kenny and Tucker. And she warns him about that. She's like, "By the way, people are talking about you, Cam, Tucker, and Kenny being an alliance." And he's like, "What? The alliance I literally just started? My ball boys?" Uh, and so basically, like, immediately, without even talking to Brooklyn or Chelsea about the plan, they both had pretty strong rebuttals to the plan without needing to know about the plan ahead of time. It was A, don't rock the boat. We're in a great spot. In a couple of weeks, the Pentagon, um, will be running things. B, people are already suspicious of this ball boy group that you just put together, so don't think that you're being, like, sly with this. And C, don't rock the boat. Nobody wants you to do this other than those two guys.
And I think it's because Cedric doesn't really understand the game enough, and so he's just kind of, he doesn't have his own ideas what he wants to do and how the game should unfold. And so when he gets like this influence from like how Tucker wants to play the game, and it's like, and it has these guys that are coming together, I think he kind of understands like their style of gameplay, non like actual gameplay. And so I do really like the women just like actually just keeping him on track without being knowing what he was actually thinking about doing. Um, yeah, I do like really like Brooklyn and Chelsea for that. One thing that you missed from the episode then is that Chelsea does a lot of narrating of the whole love, not even love pentagon or whatever you want to call it. And there's a
Pentagon.
sound clip that you are going to pull for sure, and that we are not going to hear the end
Oh,
of.
that's fun. Well, speaking of, Quinn is going to talk to Leah. Now, he hasn't really been talking to Leah. To give a quick reset here, um, over a week ago now, it feels, Quinn had this late night conversation with Leah where he wanted to pull her in. They made a final two. He told her about his final two with chemo. He gave her a bunch of information. He said he didn't trust Cedric. He told her that Cedric made a comment about her, about how she, I keep forgetting the exact wording of this, but like sold her game for a bag or something along those lines. Basically, that she gave up her game to be with Matt. Um, and she's been wary of Cedric ever since. And however, after that conversation, and in that conversation, she also like alliance zoned him. Like, hey, this is not going to be a romantic thing. This is just a strategic thing. Is that okay? And then immediately afterward, it was her and Cam, like all over the place. It was her and Cam, and Quinn was very much like, oh, whoops. And he very heavily backed off. And so they haven't really been talking much strategically. They haven't been doing much. She has been putting in a good word for him here and there when the women are talking. But beyond that, it's been very distant, which is very typical of how Quinn operates in the game, where he like creates allies and then abandons them. So he decides he is going to like talk to her, but in a way that's like, listen, uh, you're kind of in trouble again. He approaches her in that from that angle again, where it's like, hey, there's a problem with you and Cam. where people are wary of the both of you. And it feels like you're saying that you're not into Cam, but people don't really believe that because they're seeing with their eyes that like something seems to be going on. And he compared it to how Corey and America would constantly be like bashing each other and trying to pretend like they weren't into each other, but the reality is that they were like in a showman's. They're still in a showman's. And so he's trying to. I think he's like trying to go back to this well and rekindle this thing, feeling like there's a chance that it can still work strategically. But the reality is that he's neglected this relationship for so long that he just doesn't have the same social standing he did with her before. Now, to be fair to him in this moment, this conversation is fine. Like in this moment, Leah is like, "You're like, I get it. It's annoying, but like, I understand like what you're saying. And you know what? Cam is really annoying me because he keeps coming to me saying that he's the one protecting me from being on the block this week. And it's like, I don't need your protection. Like, stop acting like you're my savior. And I think this makes Quinn feel comfortable that he's doing the right thing. The problem is, Quinn does not have the social relationship with Leah that Cam does at this point. And even if she's annoyed at Cam in this moment, they have more of a relationship. They talk more. You've lost the opportunity to be this person with Quinn, or with Leah for Quinn. And so this is a very dangerous conversation for Quinn, and it was a very dangerous conversation for him the first time. And then to have let it go and then try to come back to it is just potentially disastrous. But in this moment, it's kind of working, and Leah is annoyed at Cam.
And yeah, it is working a little bit. But I'm kind of thinking Quinn just even it to me it felt like it would appear to her like Quinn is interested in her and is trying to get into between her relationship with Cam. Like I know she's actually not interested in Cam at all. And so I can understand Quinn wanting to kind of put his 2 cents in and help Leah in this game a little bit. But it actually, for me, it doesn't seem like Leah wants help in this game, even though she really needs it. She's in a very bad position. People are just like, okay, yeah, we can put her up. Okay, yeah, we can get her out. Like nobody really wants her in the game and to work with her. And Cam does, and Cam is giving her information, and it's okay for her not to want him romantically, but I think she needs to be a little bit more clear with her boundaries with Cam because he is protecting her. Like I think that she would have more easily been the one that's going to be put up there as a replacement nominee if Cam wasn't there kind of steering the ship in another direction. And for her to just kind of be flippant and throwing it away, I'm like, I think this could be bad for her game, like moving forward, because I think that she does need Cam, like his influence. He has the influence of the guys. The guys like him and want to listen to him. It seems right now.
Well, Leah is frustrated with Cam here because of how he keeps acting like he's her savior, and so wouldn't you know it? Shortly after that, Cam comes up to her in the shower, and he's like, "By the way, you are an option to go up, but I'm looking out for you, so I'm thinking it'll probably go the other way." And she's like, "Okay, thanks. Who's the other option?" And he says, "MJ." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And so he's like, "Don't tell anyone." And so of course she tells a couple people. Um,
Okay, I know
and
it's annoying, but like he's giving you good information. That means that there's a relationship that's broken. That maybe she's like, okay, thank you for saying something. I won't say anything that you've said to me, but I'm gonna go and just like talk to Cedric and just try to maybe iron things out and like maybe see if I can get a better working relationship. Because if I'm an option, so I must be doing something wrong. So thank you for just kind of letting me know that that I'm not in as a good position as I thought I was, and let me just see if I can go fix that. That's how I would take it. But I guess she has the ick from him, so everything that he says is annoying her. But
I mean, to be fair, I think you should always be wary of somebody doing this. This is major red flags for me. If somebody is
like in a
telling me
relationship or
in the
in the
game,
game. Okay. Mhm.
like if somebody is telling me like in this way where it's like, "Hey, I've got some stuff going on and you're in some danger, but don't worry, I'm gonna work on it on my end. Like, that's not a partnership. That's I'm on the outs and there's somebody who's trying to use me as a number. And that's a terrible position for me to be in. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to blow up the house structure if that's happening to me. And if the person who's looking out for me needs to be a casualty in that, then so be it, because I'm not just going to be used as a number. Um, Now, that said, Leah feels like she does have some allies, one of which she thinks is Chelsea. And so she talks to Chelsea about it. MJ hears about this, and she's gonna run straight up to Cedric and have a conversation with him, where he is now having to talk to MJ about how she might need to go up, even though he's currently thinking he's probably gonna put Cedric up, or sorry, he's probably gonna
Quinn.
put Quinn up. He still needs to act like he's going to put MJ up to her face because nobody can know that he's going to put Quinn up. And so he's talking to her about, like, yeah, you might need to go up, and she's not very happy about this. And it's kind of an awkward conversation.
Well, and also, like, with the fact that Cedric doesn't wanna get any blood on his hands, but that he's still getting blood on his hands with the plan that like, with having to follow through with the plan that actually isn't happening. Because MJ's still gonna be annoyed that she's an option.
Basically, what he's trying to do here is he's like, if you don't end up going up,
Okay.
does that mean that you would then like me and want to use your power to help me?
Fair. She did, I think it was this conversation, like, loosely threatened him, which I thought was just interesting because it was a similar threat to what Matt did to Angela, being like, "Well, if you did this, like, I might have to come after you." And so she kind of alluded to that as well, and I believe it was this conversation. And I just thought it was funny because she wasn't going to get any blowback necessarily for saying like, "Hey, if you put me up and I stay, which I will because my power, I might come after you next week." And yeah, he didn't take it as a threat, as I thought was
Mhm.
interesting.
So now MJ's kind of freaking out, like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna maybe go up on the block, like, this is not good." And in the meantime, Cam finds out because Chelsea's gonna be like, "What are you doing?" He finds out that Leah immediately went and spilled, and now Cam is all mad. And Cam goes up and talks to Cedric, and he's like, "I'm done with Leah. I'm done with her.
Sure.
I can't be I literally I talked to her and she immediately spilled everything. I'm honestly probably gonna never talk to Shawty again type thing."
I mean, we know that he's just irritated in the moment and that he will talk to her very soon. Um, I would be annoyed too. Like, I know that you're saying that the way that he was doing it would irritate you, and like you would not really be happy with him saying that he's protecting her, whatever. But if I was thinking that I'm working with somebody, that they're my almost showmans, I think that I'm doing the right thing by letting them know that like I'm helping them and taking care of them, and then they go and kind of blow that up. I would be irritated if I were Cam. I don't think that I would say that I'm never talking to Shorty again, but I would be kind of like, sorry guys, like I won't be relaying any information with her anymore. I realize that we don't have the game relationship I thought we did. And sorry, lips are sealed. Sorry.
Yes, well, Cedric is like, "Good. You shouldn't talk to her again. People are worried about this." And I honestly, I didn't know if I was gonna talk to you about this because I was kinda like, "Oh, man, I can't believe he's selling so much to Leah, and I don't know how much you're gonna say to Leah." He's like, "Well, nothing anymore. Nothing anymore." Um, but they're still on for the Quinn plan at this point. They're like, "Well, now let's talk about this." Because and Cedric says, "I feel like when Tucker was in here, it was all emotion, but we need to think about this logically." And so they say like, "Well, we ultimately like we do need to talk to like Chelsea about this. We need to figure out if this is the right play." But at this time, they are still feeling like this might be the right play. But they are trying to talk it through, but then they get interrupted. And so it's like, okay, we're gonna need to talk more about this later. And so the plan is still on, but there's definitely more details to iron out here.
I mean, at this point, I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this really happening?" Like, really? I was thinking that this is what was going to happen, and I was kind of living for just seeing how this was going to actually turn out on the show, and if the plan was going to go as planned. So at this point, I was kind of on the edge of my seat, being like, "Wow, we might actually get this to happen." Shocking.
Mhm. So in the meantime, MJ is again kind of like freaking out. She might go up on the block. She's gonna talk to Brooklyn, and she's like, "What do I do, Brooklyn?" Because as we all know, Brooklyn is the leader of the Women's
Of
Alliance,
course.
and so she needs help from Brooklyn. And Brooklyn says, "Listen, you're fine. You're not going to be voted out. It's going to be Kenny, and if it's not Kenny, it'll be Angela. And if you're on the block, even if you're on the block, at when we're voting, we're not going to vote you out. In fact, I don't think you should even use your power. I really don't think so. I think you shouldn't. I think you should save it. I don't think you need to use it." And she's like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, I swear on Texas. I really feel like you're fine." It's like, "Oh man, okay."
Now, would you so, like, if she doesn't use the power, I then, as a person that was living in this house, be like, "Well, we have her up on the block now, and she didn't use her power, and she could end up using it next week, and it could put one of us in danger. Maybe we should take her out." So I mean, I understand what Brooklyn's saying, that Kenny or Angela are bigger targets, and if they're both on the block next to her, they would vote them out. But I could see people being persuaded to maybe take out MJ, since she likely has one more week left of the power. So strategically, I wouldn't want to do it. Like, I would probably use my power and just, like, just be safe. But kind of with how these house guests are playing the game, they probably would not vote out Mackenzie, and Brooklyn is correct, and Kenny would be the one going home.
As of right now, I think that Kenny would be voted out over MJ, probably,
Yeah.
but not definitely, but probably. However, if Kenny wins the AI arena competition and it's MJ versus Angela, I don't know. I don't know about that. You're really voting Angela out over MJ, who has more allies, has a power,
She
is
did
more
really well
capable of
on
winning
the head of
comps.
Hanso competition too, and it was in front of everybody. So,
Like, I don't know about that. I
and
don't
has
know
the
about that
power.
one.
I agree. So it's definitely risky.
But she feels fairly convinced here. And when she talks to a group of people, including Cedric later, she kind of accepts, like, yeah, okay. I feel like I'd be fine. Like, they talk it through. They're like, listen, you have no chance of being voted. Whoever goes up on the block as a pawn is 100% safe. They talk about the different scenarios with MJ on the block, and it starts to feel like she's actually willing to not use the power. And so, luckily for her, the plan is currently Quinn, but she doesn't know that. And right now, she's kind of thinking, I might not use the power if I go up on the block.
Please don't. I just need to see all these scenarios like play out. I want to see if she stays. It'd be shocking to me. No, but regardless if she's against Kenny or Angela, I would be like, we got to get her out, guys. We got to get her out. But
Mhm.
I just don't understand how these people can be influenced to put themselves in danger. I think it must be with this AI arena that they all feel like they're not down and out. They have like a pretty good odds of winning these things. If it's physical, like the one that Tucker did, MJ would likely be a lock to win that particular one. And so maybe that's why they feel a little bit confident being on the block on an eviction night. But I guess I need this twist to go away for them to be more nervous. I need them to be more scared of being on the block. I need them to not be so willing to go up there and put themselves in harm's way. And I think it's because they have the safety net of that comp. but yeah, I want them to be more scared.
Hmm. Well, Cam, he made a declaration. He said, "I'm not talking to Leah ever again." And that lasted a couple of hours because he then is going to confront her about how she leaked this information. And she denies it. She says, I didn't leak any information. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's talking about like now people are talking about like me in an alliance with Cedric and Kenny and people. And it's like, where is that coming from? She's like, listen, I had nothing to do with any of that. And she is lying through her teeth about the leaking of the information. Although the alliance stuff is fair. And it's a long and awkward
It was
conversation.
really long, and I was like, it was painful, to be fair. I did, jump ahead a bit because he just went around in circles, and he's like, but you could see you, it's ironic that, and like, I just and I think the same thing and just maybe used a different word. So it was weird, or it was, I just was suspect. Like, I don't know. It was a very annoying conversation, especially because I knew that she's lying, and he like, I get it. Like, he's upset and he's just trying to confront her, but it was painful to watch. Painful.
Perhaps on another update, we could have made a meal of this whole ridiculous conversation, but there's too
There's
much
more.
to talk about here. The point is that we eventually get to a place where Leah starts spilling some actual information to Cam. Mainly that, hey, like, I wanna clear this thing up with Cedric. Like, why am I an option in the first place? Because I had heard about this comment he made about the bag, and she reveals that it was Quinn who told her that comment in the first place. This, of course, sets alarm bells off with Cam, and they start spinning off in that direction. Quinn is the problem. Quinn has been doing all of this. Quinn is the one that made up that comment about Cedric. There was never a problem between Leah and Cedric. Quinn set her on that path. Quinn made all of this an issue, and now Cam understands the full extent of Quinn's Machiavellian,
Mark.
movements, and how and Leah is now aware that Quinn was trying to play her as well, and trying to pick her up as a number. And so Cam is now like reinvigorated. His relationship with Leah has been recovered, and Quinn is the bad guy.
Common enemy, and so it actually absolved Cam's like feelings of betrayal of Leah, and now they can both go after Quinn, the bad guy, together. Uh, I mean, I get why she did it, but it also was annoying and frustrating because I know Quinn is trying to work with Leah, and she just kind of just threw that relationship away under the bus, just to, I think it was to get her out of the hot seat, and like, okay, let's talk about something else, so I don't have to continuously have him interrogate me about who I said what to. But I was starting to feel bad for Quinn because he just doesn't have any idea that any of these things are going on about him behind the scenes. And if he ends up getting put up there, I think he's just going to be so heartbroken. So I was starting to have like feeling a little heart pitter patter for poor Quinn.
I mean, I'll say again, like I think Leah has even more reason to spill Quinn's info than she
Then
did
Cam's,
Cam's.
yeah.
Like he's been so negligent in this, and he did like the first time he talked to her, he was like, "You're in a shit position. Everybody, like a lot of people are looking at you as an expendable target, and like, hey, even Cedric said this thing about you. I don't think you should trust Cedric because he didn't trust Cedric." And then that did cause a rift and did put her in danger, that she had this rift with Cedric, and then he won the HOH. And so, of course, from her perspective, that he's like set her up, because he kind of unintentionally did, and then never followed up, never like was interested in continuing that relationship because he was too worried about what she was doing. And to be fair to him, she was doing a lot, and there was a lot of reason to back away. But the issue is he never should have approached her in the first place in the way that he did. He should have been a lot more cautious. So the way that he approached her was super sketchy, regardless of intent. And so, of course, she's going to spill this information, especially in a spot where it might benefit her. And if they're gonna, go after Quinn, like all the better for her. If house, the
Flips.
house
Yeah.
structure that barely exists gets blown up because of what she says, that's great for her. It puts her in a much better position theoretically. There's a bunch of universes where Leah is evicted this week. And so like she's kind of struggling to survive at this point. Not to say that I think that she's doing anything like overtly strategic here. And there's definitely some drawbacks to blowing up her relationship with Quinn, but like Quinn might be about to have a lot of relationships blown up. And again, I think she has a fairly good justification for blowing this information up and could theoretically rekindle the relationship with Quinn later on if she needs to, because he'll be probably hurting for allies. So, so anyway, that's what Cam and Leah are up to. In the meantime, Cedric is talking with Joseph, and he's sort of putting the feelers out with Joseph about Quinn and how, like, who do you think has the other power? They talk about Quinn, and Joseph, again, unintentionally, is just kind of like, yeah, Quinn probably has it because he knows Quinn has it. But here's the thing, I don't really care. Why would we really care? It's not a big deal. And Cedric's like, yeah, but he hasn't, like, what if, because he hasn't told anybody. If he does have it and he hasn't told anybody, isn't that like bad? And Joseph's like, "Not really. Like, I mean, that's probably what I would do. I wouldn't wanna say anything to anybody." And, like, what might have happened is that, after a couple days, he hasn't told anyone, and then he's, like, close with people, and then he feels like, "Oh, well, now because I haven't told anyone, I feel like I shouldn't tell anyone. They'll be mad at me for having lied." And so, I think it's probably fine. Like, it's not, like, a big deal. And I think this again, like, everybody that Cedric is talking to, he's realizing that, like, this information is not the bombshell that he wants it to be. A lot of people do not want him to rock the boat. He is in a good position according to, like, how he sees the game. Um, and a lot of people are already skeptical of him being in an alliance with Tucker and Kenny. And so this appears to be the final straw for Cedric as he then goes back and talks to Cam. And Cam dumps all of the Leah information on Cedric about like how Quinn is the one that told Leah about that comment in the first place. And Cedric's like, freaking Quinn is behind everything. Like, what is he doing? He's aligned with everyone. He's got a billion final twos. He's spreading this information. He's running the house. He's the one planting targets on people. He's the one going around telling everyone that Kenny is thinking there's the women's alliance. Like this guy is such a problem. But I don't know, man. Like targeting him this week feels so risky. I talked to Brooklyn and she did the math and she said that the Pentagon will have the numbers by week 6 or something. So I don't know. I think it might make sense to wait until then. And Cam is like, ugh, but should we wait that long? Like, what if Quinn takes the shot at us? And Cedric is like, that's a problem. I'm not sure. Maybe we can find a way to placate him. And so Cedric, I will credit him, finally kind of comes to a better solution, which is okay. And it's a better solution. I'm not necessarily saying it's the best solution, but he comes up with a better solution, which is like it's kind of like the Monty, like if we can't beat him, join him. Except in this case, instead of like you can't beat him in a competition where you theoretically could beat him, it's like, yeah, because he's basically guaranteed HOH next week. Um, we just need to survive one more week of Quinn having power, and then he will not have the power anymore. And then we can take a shot. We can prepare, and we can like knowing what he's doing, we can prep. And so, what if we placate him by exposing Tucker and Kenny? And that will get rid of this idea that we're aligned with Tucker and Kenny. It will focus him on Tucker and Kenny for next week if he does take over the HOH. And it'll make him feel like we trust him and that he can trust us. And that gives us time to prepare for the actual strike that we want to make on him, where we can find a replacement for him ahead of time and we won't have to blow up our structure and it'll be a much better play.
is definitely a better play, but my question would be to them is, do you not care at all about your relationship with Tucker and Kenny? Because you potentially could be losing them as allies. They could also be going out, and those are the two powerhouses in competitions that you're kind of have in your group that's supposed to be helping you win power and dominating the game. And so I know he has his other alliances with Pentagon and the collective around it, but he just make this alliance with these other two guys, and so they might come back and retaliate against you if it gets out that Cedric was the one that leaked this information to Quinn about what was potentially going to happen. So it's definitely risky, but it's at least it's in the right direction. That it might be a little bit too soon to take the shot. I also think that Joseph's, what he said to Quinn, what he said to Cedric was kind of like in the circle where it's like, it doesn't really matter if you know who the catfishes are, or like if you don't need to hunt the catfishes. Like, okay, we suspect that Quinn has a power. Maybe he wasn't allowed to say something, whatever. And you know where the power is. You have an idea of what it does. So that actually is information is kind of powerful. And so I think that at least it's allowing him to think a little bit more strategically about how to use Quinn and nullify this power that they're scared of. And so he's thinking a little bit more broadly, we'll say. So I think all in all, it's better.
Yes. I mean, I think the idea here is that they're sacrificing Kenny. They're saying Kenny gets voted out this week, so it doesn't matter that we're burning Kenny. And then if Quinn is focused on Tucker next week and Quinn can hijack an HOH, like, sorry, Tucker, Quinn's going to maybe be coming after you. And Tucker has to deal with Quinn before he can deal with them.
And
And
he
so,
loves that
like,
position too, actually. Tucker's like, yeah, I want to play. So he's probably
exactly, like,
excited.
Tucker's not really a problem, especially if you, like, because, like, basically the way to neutralize Quinn is to, like, just pit him against somebody else while you sit back, and let them fight it out. I think it's actually a pretty good plan overall, especially in comparison to where they were before. Now, will they be able to pull it off? That's the other question, because there's a lot of ways this could blow back on them. And the truth could get out, and Quinn could recognize that, like, once he realizes that he's been caught, he could shift things up. He could use this power in a different way. Like, there's a lot of different ways this could also go wrong. Mostly because they've already kind of, like, gone a little too far down the path. But they haven't gone down the path so far that they're not able to pretty much blame it all on Tucker and Kenny. And so there's definitely a lot of ways that this can work, especially because now MJ is, like, accepting her place on the block, might not even use the power. And by, like, pulling Quinn in closer, they will be able to gather more information from him that they can later use to sink him when the time comes. In addition to this, they are now looking to ideally, like, form a group of athletes. This is now the plan. It literally took, like, a couple of physical competitions in a row for everyone to be like, all right, there it
We're
is.
back.
Nobody else is going to be able to win comps. All we need to do is gather up the athletes, and we're not even going to lose a competition. And the annoying part is
They're
that
right.
they're right. That is pretty much how it works. And if they do go ahead and do this, and they are able to survive Quinn, I do think that they will just crush the rest of the season if the competitions do not go back to being equitable.
Yeah, and I feel like they must have watched last season in Sequester for ever to be so hyped around these. We saw that Jag pretty much won because of the fact that he was so good at these physical competitions, and I think that that's probably what got Tucker so pumped up with these physical competitions. And now this group is forming, pulling together all the athletes, and so I think that chances are it's going to go that direction. I do think that there's going to be a lot of physical competitions coming up, and we were so blessed with the fact that there has been, like, a whole bunch of different winners at the beginning of this season, and now I think it's going to go down one lane of one type of. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I'll be happily be proven wrong, but I kind of agree with you that it's likely that these guys are going to start, or these athletes are going to start winning a lot.
I mean, it's a great example of how quickly it snowballs to include just a couple um, of physical competitions. Like the fact, like one physical competition that doesn't even seem that physical, but the flaw of its design is that it was actually very physical. The AI arena puzzle,
Hmm.
which was actually just uh carry big things over to another spot challenge that Tucker was able to completely dominate. And then a more overtly physical competition in the balance beam. And so like it's just like now all of a sudden it really starts to feel like, yeah, there's such a dramatic difference between, like, there's a reason why they're like, "Oh, Angela can't win a competition," even though she already did, because she didn't win a competition convincingly. It was a
Hmm.
close competition. It was a competition that anybody could have won. But
It
then when
was
you
shuffleboard.
experience what it's like to have a competition where Angela would never have a chance,
Yeah.
you then start to recognize, okay, this is very different. So even just one or a couple of these competitions has a dramatic impact on how the game is played and how people approach the game. And so, that's, I think, a problem by itself. And then when you start to say more than just a couple, when you start to say half of the competitions, more than half of the competitions are like that, it's a massive problem.
Well, and then it also determines who you're going to start evicting and be like, well, like maybe we want to keep people in here that either we can beat, or we want to bring people into our alliance that we know that will be able to, keep the power together and win these things. And so it just sucks because as much as Angela's been kind of annoying me, she was pretty fine today. Actually, I barely saw her, but like I still want her to have a shot at winning some of these competitions. It's just not fun or fair or exciting to watch. Like, yes, okay, you are expanding on the diversity of people on the show and different ages and physical capabilities. Great. But then like them not being able to win competitions to win some power in the show, it just, I don't know, it kind of sucks. And so maybe we're wrong, right? Because we have seen quite a few variety in competitions so far. So maybe they just sprinkled a couple here just to see how they'd land, but really the rest of them is going to be more equitable. Let's hope for this.
Hmm.
You're like,
Uh,
okay.
Well, they do mention Cedric and Cam that they still don't trust Leah. That she still ran to MJ with that info. She's still a snake. They don't trust her. But it's good to know this information. They're not going to work with her long term or anything like that. And Cedric also drops like, "Hey, yeah, I always kind of knew Quinn was sketchy because he tried to form a final two with me a little while ago." And I was like, "Whoa, I'm loyal to the Pentagon." And he was like, "Oh yeah, me too." Which is of course exactly how that happened. It wasn't Cedric that approached Quinn with the final two. But he's already trying to get ahead of that because he's recognizing that he's basically he's completely done with the quality control final two. And he's ready for that to be outed as well and to blame Quinn for it.
I mean, he's thinking ahead. It's a little bit strategic. He's getting ahead of the story here, because if Quinn becomes the hot seat, he might start outing certain things, and so if he's already gotten ahead of this, like people, he won't get the blowback, and so it's
Yes.
pretty smart.
Yes, that is the idea. And that's, I mean, that's pretty much where things leave off. Cedric has walked backed down from the idea of Quinn being backdoored this week, and instead has decided to try to placate Quinn for the next couple of weeks until a cleaner shot can be made. And in the meantime, if Tucker and Kenny have to go down because of it, so be it. Now we'll see if that actually happens. That's the kind of plan that it like makes sense on paper, but requires actual gusto to to do. And we haven't exactly seen the level of like proactivity um,
No.
in these players, especially Cedric. So like I'll believe it when I see it that they actually go ahead and rat Kenny out. But that is theoretically the plan. They also plan to tell Tucker to use the veto on himself and not Angela, to make this plan work. Which, like, honestly, just if you're gonna sacrifice Tucker, just sacrifice Tucker. You know what I mean? Um,
Oh,
but again, that would
Taran!
require some gumption,
No, I
that
don't
I'm
think
not
so.
sure they have. So the plan right now is to nominate MJ. MJ might not use her power to save herself. And they might go ahead and rat out Kenny and potentially Tucker to Quinn to make sure that Quinn is focused on the two of them. They may wait until next week to do so, which might be even smarter, but it also has a little bit of risk attached to it as well. So that is the current plan as of right now. We'll see if it changes any more before the veto ceremony today. But we kind of went around in many circles to finally get back to where we probably started in the first place, except now MJ might not use the power. And the entire house is like balancing on a knife's edge in terms of its overall structure.
Do you know offhand what time usually the veto happens on Mondays?
Oh, like afternoon-ish, I think.
No, I'm kind of like just interested, like what's actually gonna go down? I wanna know. I wanna know. So I'm just kind of I'm on sitting on a knife's edge here, waiting to see if what actually will happen. Maybe the plan will change in the next couple hours again. But I definitely was surprised with how much went on a Sunday in the Big Brother house so early in the season. But I'm actually happy that I feel good. I feel it was cathartic and I feel like I understand the structure of the house more. And so, yes, this was a good one for me. Thank you.
Yes. Basically, war has broken out in the Big Brother 26 house. It's just that most people don't know it yet. Uh,
That's
so
kind of
uh,
fun.
we will wait and see what happens with the Quinn versus Cedric war. But in the meantime, that is about what we got. Chantel, anything else you wanted to bring up from yesterday?
No, honestly I do think we got everything that I was thinking that we are going to talk about. So I'm good.
Okay. Well, I will, of course, be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds, including the result of this veto ceremony and if anything else happens with the Quinn stuff. And then tomorrow night's roundtable. We'll rate these players. Should be
This
interesting.
will be very interesting.
Yeah.
How Oh man, I don't even know how I would rate them right now, but it'll be a good one for sure.
It'll be fun. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we'll have the veto episode where we'll see a lot of this, hopefully, in the episode. And we'll be recapping that. The slop also, I believe, is going to be today with America, who, I don't know, may or may not have the ability to choose the replacement nominee.
Wouldn't
Um,
that be like a funny twist? It'd be like, did you think that we met all of America? We just met America Lopez, who's going to be deciding. That'd be
yes.
funny.
Of course, the slop is patron only, which I imagine is quite necessary, especially with America on the podcast. So, if you want to tune in for that, become a patron. Rob is a podcast. You can also find me on Twitch. I'm hanging out. I'm talking about things. I did go live yesterday to talk about this Quinn backdoor plan briefly, although I am still recovering at the moment. Um, we talked about the House of the Dragon finale last night, which was very fun. Um, so check that out. Chantel, anything you got going on?
I just have to say, I actually forgot to buy the stuffy, the Kella stuffy. So like I was just saw you and I was like, oh my gosh, I would be one of those people like, can you open it up again, Tara? Can you? He's like, no.
Yeah, you don't get
I'm
cute little
so
close ups.
upset. I totally forgot in the end. Anyways, I did want to mention that. But for me, you can find me on Twitter at Shan___Fran, on Instagram at ShanFranFran, and on my YouTube channel, Reality Realness with 3 S's, where in about an hour, I'm going to go live to do our draft for the challenge season 40. So if you guys are into that season and want to see how we pick our players for this monumental season, join me over there.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today, and I will see all of you next time.